Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our webinar around controlling artificial intelligence risk without killing productivity across your organization. Before we jump into the sort of content of the webinar, just to give you a little bit of context about myself. My name's Tom Bascom. I'm the strategic account manager and team lead here at TrustLayer. And my responsibility is to ensure that the TrustLayer customers, valued customer and partner base, are maximizing the TrustLayer product set in line with their organizational goals and challenges. I've worked at TrustLayer now for 7.5 years in a variety of different roles, supporting and onboarding valued customers. In that time, there's been a wide range of different cybersecurity topics, and more recently, one that's really picked up a head of steam is this sort of artificial intelligence situation and trying to juggle that risk and security, as we've mentioned, particularly now with the explosion of sort of generative AI over the past few years. So just a little bit around the current landscape. Artificial intelligence is already delivering measurable results in domains that are very language heavy and repeatable. Microsoft's 2024 Work Trend Index reports that 3 in 4 knowledge workers are using artificial intelligence at work, and the majority say that it saves them significant time, improves focus, and improves creativity. So this is no longer now just a niche behavior, it is now a mainstream employee practice. Independent field studies go a little bit further, and in large production deployments across more than sort of 5,000 customer support agents, access to generative AI increased issues resolved per hour by about 14% on average. The biggest gains were experienced by the less experienced or newer staff across the team. And that really does matter to organizations because it compresses the time to proficiency and really smooths the service quality across the organization. For software teams, controlled experiments show developers complete standard tasks around 55% faster with artificial intelligence assistance. And that's a strong signal that text-heavy and pattern-based work really benefits early. And the takeaway shouldn't be that AI just saves time, but it also reallocates expert attention to the non-routine judgment calls where humans really do add the most value. What's really striking is just how quickly artificial intelligence has gone from experiment to sort of mainstream. And this timeline shows what analysts see happening in the near term through to sort of 2030. Just over a year ago, around half of all companies were using AI in some form, and that's now jumped to nearly 8 in 10. So adoption is no longer really optional, it's happening across all industries, functions, and geographies. McKinsey points out that 3/4 of real value sits in 4 functions: customer operations, sales and marketing, software engineering, and research and development. And that's where pilots are most likely to deliver tangible returns first. Finance leaders are really leaning into it now. 85% expect artificial intelligence to reduce manual work and deliver better insights, which means that the C-suite expects return on investment and not just experiments now. The World Economic Forum goes further. 86% of employers believe that artificial intelligence will fundamentally transform their business models. So it isn't just about efficiency, it's about reorientation. That transition brings a bit of a challenge. 39% of today's skills are expected to change by 2030, and 6 in 10 workers will need retraining. And that's the scale of reskilling that leaders will have to account for. IDC expects worldwide spend on artificial intelligence to more than double and hit 632 billion by 2028. So the money is definitely flowing, but firms that spend without guardrails will only help to accelerate risk. McKinsey calculates that 2.6 to 4.4 trillion of annual productivity value is possible across functions. So that really is the carrot. But again, the question is whether organizations can capture that safely. By 2030 to sort of 2060, half of today's work activities could well be automated, and Gen AI touches 60 to 70% of employees' daily tasks. So it's not just a side tool anymore, it really is embedded into core workflows. The IMF warns that the flip side of 40% of jobs globally and 60% in advanced economies will be affected. Some will be complemented by the boost of AI, others could well be substituted, and that's why governance and reskilling matter as much as the tech itself. Finally, at more of a macro level, Goldman Sachs project that global GDP could rise 7% over the next decade. And even the UK's older PwC estimate still suggested a 10% uplift. The upside is really huge, but it does depend on the execution. As we've seen already, the explosion of AI is huge. More and more organizations are taking this on now. And that's already introduced a significant number of risks. Firstly, artificial intelligence applications are really data sinkholes. Through proof of concepts with potential customers and existing customer insights, we know that employees can and will be attempting to upload documents into artificial intelligence applications. We've seen countless examples of PII, sensitive IP, customer lists, and financial documents all being uploaded into open source AI. And that introduces significant risk to your organization. What could happen if your financial statements, customer lists, sensitive IP were to become accessible in the public domain via a simple AI query? That could fall into competitor hands. Again, with the explosion of AI, it's really led to an all but impossible task for IT teams to stay on top. There seems to be a new AI application every day, and IT teams are really struggling to maintain visibility, and that's caused this boost of shadow AI usage. With traditional security tooling, it can prove difficult when it comes to auditing and governance due to the inabilities within reporting details and really actionable policy creation, which we'll touch upon further. Then the ongoing balancing act. Organizations are really struggling to get that right mix, that Goldilocks sort of balance between security and productivity. Where controls are too restrictive, unfortunately, users aim to find workarounds to get around their daily jobs. Where they're too loose, risk spirals regardless, because there's too many open applications and that shadow IT only grows. But it isn't just about the outbound direction of data. It's also concern around the input, the sort of outputs of artificial intelligence, There's growing concern around inaccurate data being returned, specifically within certain industries such as, healthcare, legal, finance, where inaccurate outputs could, lead to significant financial, legal, reputational damage. If we took the example of a nurse or practitioner aiming to troubleshoot patient symptoms with the help of AI to do their day job better, if that returned response is inaccurate, there's significant risk there to human health and organizational reputation. Likewise, we've already touched upon it. It's very powerful with coding in software-based tasks. And there's already been examples of artificial intelligence applications returning, malicious files, malicious codes, if the ethicality of those applications are questionable. So with traditional tooling, web security can be utilized to block or allow artificial intelligence outright. It's a really valuable tool in keeping the organization safe, where there may be concerns around the ethicality of the web application, where it's hosted, what they do with that data. From a visibility perspective, it can be used to analyze which users have accessed URLs within the AI and machine learning web category, or potentially a manually built custom URL list. And you can gain that basic understanding of artificial intelligence access across the organization. But unfortunately, there are certain areas where web security just falls a little bit short. As you've just seen there from the previous slides, it can give us some understanding in terms of which AI tools were accessed, but it can't really give actionable information as such. We don't know how users have interacted once they've made it to those web applications. In addition, because of the nature of web security, checking every single web request can very often generate lots of noise within reporting. So it can be quite hard to see the wood through the trees. So things could slip through the gap. When it comes to enforcing policy, if you go down the web categorization route, this can have negative impacts on the user experience. We've already sort of touched upon the explosion of artificial intelligence, and it really is interwoven across so many dynamic websites. And therefore, blocking based on that web category could lead pages to load slowly or not load at all, which in turn sort of leads to an influx of support tickets. And again, that sort of IT workload begins to spiral. The alternative could be to utilize sort of custom URL lists, or a combination of both custom URLs and web categorizations. The real challenge here is that it feels like the new AI web applications are being created on an almost daily basis, and many of those artificial intelligence tools will have multiple domains feeding into them. For example, deepseek.ai and deepseek.com are both valid domains of DeepSeek. So trying to maintain that manually through custom URL lists, it's very time consuming. It can lead to errors and gaps within policy, which users can then either exploit maliciously or just an unfortunate sort of side impact of their day-to-day job. Due to its binary block and allow nature of web filtering, the fundamental shortfall here is that you either allow all access and it's too sort of open and lead yourself to security sort of gaps, or you restrict all access, which then hampers productivity. And we've already touched upon all these financial benefits and rewards that can be encountered when artificial intelligence is done correctly. This leads us to look for complementary tools to web filtering that can build upon the work that can be performed within standard web filtering tools. And that's where CASB really comes in. CASB takes away the heavy lifting when it comes to maintaining those manual custom URL lists around AI. This tightens security posture and enhances efficiency across IT teams. As of today, within our own application catalog, there are 208 separate artificial intelligence applications contained and maintained within our application catalog without any input from your IT teams. This cuts through a lot of the noise and the workload generated by traditional web filtering. Each of those 208 applications are profiled in detail to understand specifically how the user can engage with the application, and this allows cybersecurity and risk and governance teams to clearly differentiate between actions that can boost productivity to your organization and actions which pose a risk. The granularity of the application catalog not only enhances visibility, but also enables policy creation. So you can begin to target and block risky behaviors across unsanctioned artificial intelligence tools. This is vital for maximizing the organizational benefits of AI whilst maintaining a resolute security posture through preventing actions such as uploading a file, which again can open your organization to potentially losing sensitive data such as PII, sensitive IP, customer lists, and financial statements. When we take this sort of print screen and compare it to the one that we showed previously around the web filtering, you can see the stark contrast. We've gone away from the did they go there, yes or no approach, and more to okay, the user went there, but what actions did they attempt to perform? And within this print screen, we can see here that, I didn't just get James Allman went to ChatGPT with a long URL string. I've now actually got that actionable insight. They went there, they uploaded a file. That file was titled legal document, and we can see the baseline risk of that. Here's an example of that application catalog. So we can see that it's not just uploading a file that we've profiled. There are a number of different actions a user can perform within ChatGPT. And with this, we can assign a baseline risk to all of those actions. Now, we do that ourselves, and our baseline risk is collaborated based around the likelihood of data being lost to the organization. Nobody's perfect. Depending on your sanctioned and unsanctioned AI tools, you can of course adjust that risk level, lowering it for the sanctioned tools, raising it for the unsanctioned tools, as can be seen there. Once you've done that sort of work within the catalog, you can start to begin creating policy to enforce what the corporate policy has been outlined, or to action potential security concerns which have been identified within that previously shown reporting section. So we can do this via a number of different conditions. In this instance, we've utilized time, and we've gone for the specific application class of artificial intelligence paired with a cloud risk level. So very swiftly, we can say anything within the AI catalog that has a high risk or could potentially lead to data being lost from the organization, we'll just block that action. Again, we can change it from time. It can be more granular, so across specific departments, entirely up to you. An alternative approach to this is that you could block based on specific actions within a specific application. Specifically target ChatGPT. Maybe that's a sanctioned use, but many teams across your organization don't need to upload files. Well, okay, still restrict that, but allow that productivity and those general search queries to be returned. As we progress and AI becomes more entwined with our day-to-day workflows, it's important to embrace a sort of action plan. It is vital that organizations remain in control and mitigate the risks associated with artificial intelligence. So to do this, firstly, there needs to be a clear understanding across the organization of which artificial intelligence tools are going to be sanctioned and unsanctioned. And that can be organizational wide or potentially within specific departments, depending on your organization. It is then important that this is communicated very clearly via internal communications and with how the security tools you have in place interact with the end user base there. As users will just default to creatures of comfort mode and use the tools they're most familiar with. So that engagement is important to maintain a strong posture. Secondly, wherever possible with those sanctioned artificial intelligence applications, investment should be made at the business level to upgrade to enterprise licensing or the equivalent. And that enables you to move away from sort of open source tools and will ensure data privacy, security, and accountability. And in addition, quite often when you upgrade to those enterprise level licenses, you gain enhanced functionality across the toolset. Finally, the defined corporate policy needs to be enforced via CASB. This will ensure that the organization remains in control and shadow IT doesn't begin to sprawl out of control. You'll continue to have detailed visibility across user actions to prevent data breaches, and policy can be created to ensure that only the trusted and invested applications are utilized, maximizing organizational ROI and organizational security and striking that perfect balance between risk and security and productivity, sorry. But that's it from myself. Thank everybody for your time and listening today. If there are any questions, please do pop them in the chat window, and if we can cover them on the session, I will do now. Thank you. I can't see anything in the Q&A section or the chat window. Marvelous. I'll hang on a couple more minutes just in case anybody's typing, and then I will yeah, everyone can get on with the rest of their day. But yeah, thank you again for listening. Thanks all. Speak to you later. Bye bye.